double RB hero build strategy. So I did first the 3 drafts with the double RB hero strategy. Pretty much you're taking 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds of your draft and waiting to the 7th, 8th round to get your next running back. So I had the second pick to start it off. Took Bijan Robinson. He's my number 2 running back off the board. It's close between him and Jahmyr Gibbs for number 1, but I just feel like Gibbs is in a better offense. He's got a better quarterback, better O-line. But Bijan Robinson had a monster season last year, got the contract extension this offseason, and he's going to get a lot of touches. One of the better receiving backs in the league as well, and has that big home run ability. Then second round, I went A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, I've been drafting a lot in all these videos. I think he has a big year with Drake May. Drake May, one of the better deep ball throwers in all the NFL. And A.J. Brown, he goes out there and he could get it, and this is where he wanted to land with his former head coach, Mike Vrabel, where they were together in Tennessee now with obviously this New England Patriot team. So I think Brown has a good year. Then third round, Jeremiah Love. I know he's fallen down draft boards of late, where Tyler Algier is getting first team reps in training camp, but they used an early pick on Jeremiah Love. He's got home run hitting ability. Indoor games is always a plus for a running back as well, where obviously Arizona's indoors at home. And I think Love, it might be out of the gate slow, where it could be a 50-50 split, but with his talent, he's going to see the field sooner than later, more than any of the other backs on this roster. I think Love, he'll be fine this season. Then fourth round, Davante Adams. Davante Adams last year, his numbers were down except touchdowns. And when you're next to a wide receiver like Puka Nacua, you're going to get opportunities and have a gunslinger and still one of the better quarterbacks in the league in Matthew Stafford. So Davante Adams, even though he maybe lost a step, he still has a knack for the end zone. He's still going to go out there and make plays. And I think as a number 2 wide receiver, not horrible going into the season, especially with this double hero strategy. Then fifth round, I went Tyler Warren. Like I said, if you're not going to take backs after that third round range, you got to obviously get other positions filled in. And Tyler Warren had a good rookie year last year. Obviously, the numbers fell off once Phillip Rivers came in and Daniel Jones was out for the season. But Daniel Jones, he's back. He's healthy. He's ready to go for this Indianapolis Colts team. And like I said, Tyler Warren, he was a first-round pick for a reason last season, and he definitely disappoints. 6th round, Brian Thomas Jr. I know last year was a bad year. I know they got Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, Travis Hunter, but Brian Thomas, I think he'll be all right. And to get him in the 6th round, where last season he was going late first, early second, after a bad sophomore season, definitely a possibility he could bounce back, is Brian Thomas Jr. He's got all the tools. He's got the route running. He's got the speed. Just dropping passes have been a problem for him and crossing the middle. But this season, entering his 3rd year, after maybe he took his focus off a little bit in his 2nd season, I think he could bounce back. And in the 6th round, worth the flyer. Then 7th round, Marvin Harrison. So I'm pretty much thinking if one of these guys is a bust, maybe the other one will get going as my 3rd wide receiver flex option, depending obviously your league setting. So Marvin Harrison, the first 2 seasons of his career hasn't been good. And we saw in college, he was one of the better wide receivers we saw in the last decade come out. What he did over there, obviously, is Marvin Harrison, but he could run the routes. He's got it in his genetics. Obviously, his father was great with the Indianapolis Colts. I think Marvin Harrison, maybe entering his 3rd season, could figure things out in a new offensive system. And we know Jacoby Brissett, a better thrower of the football than Kyler Murray. Jonathan Brooks, I took in the 8th round. He's definitely been moving up draft boards of late. It's him and Chuba Hubbard in the backfield over there in Carolina. The only thing with Jonathan Brooks, he's coming off of 2 ACL injuries over the last few seasons, but he's a great talent. And they let Rico Dotto walk because they knew they had Jonathan Brooks waiting in the wings as his Panther team. So to have him as my 3rd running back, I don't think is bad. Then I went Cortland Sutton in the 9th round. He's definitely fallen down draft boards. A lot of people high on Jalen Waddle, but already Jalen Waddle banged up in training camp. Waddle, he's just had injuries on and off over the last couple seasons, but he's going 3rd, 4th round. But he's a player I've been staying away from is Waddle, where I think Sutton in these later rounds has more value, where Bo Nix and Sutton have great rapport. Sutton got a nice contract extension last season, and this year, with single coverage possibly, with more coverage rolled the way to Jalen Waddle, I like him even more. 10th round, Patrick Mahomes. So Mahomes, he'll be ready for week 1. Tearing the ACL late last season was Patrick Mahomes. Well, it's Patrick Mahomes, unless he has a major injury, he's going to be out like he was last season with the ACL, but with a whole offseason to recover, it's not surprising Mahomes will be ready. They still got a good offense. Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy is a deep ball threat. You brought in Kenneth Walker, one of the better running backs in the game. So this offense should be better this season. And Mahomes, he's just not going to run as much, which I don't think is a big deal. Then 11th round, Casey Concepcion. Maybe I reached a little bit on Concepcion, but I think he arguably could be the number one receiver as the year goes on for this Brown team, over past Jerry Jeudy, past obviously Boston, the other rookie they brought in this season in the NFL draft. And like I said, someone's got to catch the ball over there in Cleveland, regardless if it's Watson or Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback. Then 12th round, Woody Marks. I keep drafting him a lot in leagues. Last year, he got a lot of work as a rookie with Joe Mixon out for the season, and Nick Chubb obviously not playing good football. So I think Woody Marks, he's still going to get a workload with David Montgomery acquired, obviously, from this Texan team in the offseason. Then there's a late round flyer and my fourth running back. I don't think it's bad. Then 13th round, Jonah Coleman. I've been drafting him a decent amount. Denver's going to run a three-man committee, it looks like, early in the season. Sean Payton likes what he's seeing early in training camp from Jonah Coleman. And we also know J.K. Dobbins, unfortunately for him, he's a good player, but he's always injured, and you count on him getting injured again. So I think Coleman could have a role in this offense for Denver this season. And then the final two rounds, I went Steelers and Chase McLaughlin. And the Steelers, they got a pretty solid D. Their D for most of the season, I think you could have confidence running with. And Chase McLaughlin as well, he's got a big boot. And Tampa Bay this season might have more trouble finding the end zone. So the final roster, Patrick Mahomes, A.J. Brown, Davante Adams, Bijan Robinson, Jeremiah Love as my hero running backs, taking Bijan second overall. And then in the third round, Jeremiah Love, Tyler Warren, Brian Thomas Jr., McLaughlin, Steelers D. And then the bench, Marvin Harrison, Jonathan Brooks, Cortland Sutton, Casey Concepcion, Woody Marks, and Jonah Coleman. So I think overall, pretty balanced team. The only thing, a little question mark for me, is Marvin Harrison or Brian Thomas being starters as consistent guys going into the season. The only thing is, obviously, the number ones on their teams right now is Marvin Harrison and Brian Thomas, but inconsistencies have been there. But in terms of having Bijan Robinson and Jeremiah Love, if I went into the season with those guys as my two running backs, I'd actually be pretty satisfied. Like I said, it might take a little bit of Jeremiah Love to get things going and get more of an opportunity, obviously, with this Cardinal team. But I think he's a running back that he could do a little bit of everything, catch the football out of the backfield, home run hitting ability in between the tackles, and also a pretty good blocker where he is a three-down back is Jeremiah Love. And also, I think A.J. Brown and Adams, even though they're veterans, that's solid start at the receiver position. And Patrick Mahomes, if he's healthy, he'll put up some good numbers. That's first of three drafts where I had the second pick overall of a double RB build, double hero RB draft strategy. Eighth pick overall, Jonathan Taylor, I took at the number 8. And going into the season, he's my number 8 overall pick off the board. So it worked out in that case for Jonathan Taylor. A good season last year. And I think this season, once again, he's not going to slow down. And this offense was solid and one of the better offenses in all pro football until Daniel Jones went out with injury. But he's back again this season is Daniel Jones. We'll see if he could stay healthy, and obviously those running lanes will be open for Taylor. Then second round, Kenneth Walker to round out the double hero RB for me. So Kenneth Walker, he got a big money contract in the offseason from this Kansas City Chief team. He's going to get the ball a whole lot. I know they don't want Patrick Mahomes overworking, coming off a torn ACL and coming back pretty quick, that he's going to be ready for week 1. And Kenneth Walker in the playoffs with performances and the Super Bowl MVP. And you can't go wrong with him in the second round. Then third round, his teammate Rashee Rice. If he could just stay out of trouble and stay on the field, he's one of the more talented wide receivers in pro football is Rashee Rice. So like I said, I start off with the two running backs and then go receiver heavy the next 3 rounds. Then the fourth round, Ladd McConkey. Last season was a sophomore slump, a majority of the season for Ladd McConkey. But McConkey, we know he's got great hands. We know he's a good route runner. And that's it. Mike McDaniel is the offensive coordinator for this Los Angeles Charger team. I think it's going to turn things around, and McConkey could get to the next level. And also as well, with no Keenan Allen on the team this year, that's definitely a plus. And then in the 5th round, Garrett Wilson dropped in this one. I know people are down on Garrett Wilson, and I'm not ranking him as high as he is on some of these websites as well. But to get Garrett Wilson in the 5th round as a third receiver or flex option, depending your league settings, I think that's pretty good. So to go double RB hero early, had 2 first rounds, and then to land these 3 wide receivers, I think obviously it's a good paid off in this one with players falling down the board. And like I said, even with a bad quarterback, we've seen Garrett Wilson in the past go out there and put up numbers. Then in the 6th round, Drake May fell in this one. And Drake May, he's a top three quarterback for me going into the season for the fantasy football year. Drake May, now adding A.J. Brown and Romeo Doubs to this offense to go with Hunter Henry, Ramondre Stevenson, and Trevion Henderson in the backfield. I think his numbers can hit the next level. A.J. Brown, one of the better deep ball guys in the league. Romeo Doubs, he can make things happen. So I think Drake May in the 6th round, where just on this Yahoo platform, quarterbacks have really been falling in all these drafts I've been doing. 7th round, Jordan Tyson. I've been taking him a lot in this mock series is Jordan Tyson. And like I said, with double hero RB, I abandoned the running back position to the 10th round after I got my 2 studs early on. So Tyson, he's going to get one-on-one coverage with Chris Olave, obviously being the number 1 guy over there for this New Orleans Saints team. Then the 8th round, I went tight end Harold Fannin. There's not much in that passing game this season it's going to be for this Brown team. And we saw Harold Fannin last year overtake David Njoku pretty early in the season, and now we know Njoku, he's on the Los Angeles Chargers. So to get Fannin in the 8th round, I think it's a decent value for a tight end who's a good route runner. Obviously, a guy who could line up different spots on the field. 9th round, Michael Wilson, he had a breakout season last year, and especially in the second half, once Jacoby Brissett was the full-time quarterback. In this Arizona offense, they're going to be trailing a lot, and they're going to be putting up points. I know Marvin Harrison still the number 1 wide receiver over there, but like I said, Michael Wilson and Jacoby Brissett, they were on a different level last season towards the end of the year, and we saw some huge games out of Michael Wilson. Then 10th round, I went Chris Rodriguez Jr. It looks like him and Bashal Tutin possibly going to split early in the season. And Chris Rodriguez, he is a physical running back. The few opportunities he got last season, I thought he was all right with the Washington Commanders. And like I said, Bashal Tutin, they were high on him last year. That's why they traded Tank Bigsby to the Philadelphia Eagles. One of the reasons was this Jaguar team, but I think Rodriguez, he's going to come in and get some work. Then the 11th round, Tyler Algier, as of now, he's with the first team in early on training camp is Tyler Algier. With Jeremiah Love, they might ease him in a little bit, even though Love, it could only take him 10 to 12 touches to have a big ball game. But Tyler Algier, we've seen a 1,000-yard season under his belt. Then obviously they took Bijan Robinson. They still split kind of that first year that Bijan was a rookie in the league. And then after that, Algier was a backup. But I think Tyler Algier, he's going to be in this backfield and getting touches for this Arizona Cardinal team. And a guy who, beginning of the year, could be a 50-50 split or 60-40 and Love's favored. Then 12th round, Casey Concepcion. Concepcion, he's a rookie that could possibly be the number 1 receiver in Cleveland. Like I said earlier with Fannin, this Cleveland team, there's not many options in the passing game. Quarterback, even if it's Watson or Shedeur Sanders, I think Concepcion, he's going to get some targets in this offense. I know Jerry Jeudy's still there. I know they got Boston, but Concepcion, they're high on going into the season, and he's going to get an opportunity. At 13th round, Jonah Coleman to round out my running back room is my 5th back. Jonah Coleman, he's impressive in camp to head coach Sean Payton, and we know Sean Payton throughout his career, he likes using running back for running back committees. We saw it obviously with the New Orleans Saints going back years ago. We saw it last season with Dobbins and Harvey, and now you could add Jonah Coleman to the mix. Even though Jonah Coleman, he's a potential lottery ticket, but a few things have to go right for him to see the field and have impact. And I know J.K. Dobbins, he's very injury prone throughout his career, so that could bounce his way. And then the final 2 rounds, I always go kicker, defense, and stream for the majority of the year. Got Tyler Loop and the Packers. So the final roster with the 8th pick overall and the double hero RB strategy, where I took 2 running backs first 2 rounds and then waited for the 10th round to get my other backs. Drake May, Rashee Rice, Lat McConkey, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, Harold Fannin Jr., Garrett Wilson, Tyler Loop, Packers D, my starting lineup. And then to the bench, Jordan Tyson, Michael Wilson, Chris Rodriguez, Tyler Algier, Casey Concepcion, and Jonah Coleman. So I think overall, I got a little lucky in this draft, going the double hero RB, and then a guy like Garrett Wilson falling to the 5th round to really round out my receiving room. Harold Fannin, he fell off a little bit where he went 89th overall. So a couple guys fell in this draft, and sometimes these strategies do work out. But for the most times, I'm going to draft best player available, even though I like loading up on receivers a little earlier than running backs. But like I said, you got to play the board as well. Like a guy like Drake May, 6th round was a great value for Drake May, like I said, and you just got to play the board. So that was a double RB build for the 8th pick overall. The final double RB draft breakdown. I had the 12th pick overall. I took Ashton Ginty. Ginty this season, I think, have a better year than his rookie year. Better offensive line is this Raider team. Better quarterback play, either Kirk Cousins, Fernando Mendoza, whoever it's going to be in the starting lineup for this Vegas Raider team. So I think Ginty's a good dual threat out of the backfield, in between the tackles, catching passes. Then second round, Saquon Barkley. I think Barkley could have a bounce back season. I think the Eagles are going to run it even more, where last season A.J. Brown was there and it just broke up the vibe of the offense, I thought, for the Philadelphia Eagles. And now they don't have to worry about that, and they could get back to playing their game. And we saw a couple years ago, when everything was good, Saquon Barkley, one of the best running back seasons of all time. Then I go receiver, Emeka Egbuka. Egbuka, to me, he's the number one guy over there now in Tampa Bay. Chris Godwin, the last couple seasons, injuries have done him in, and setbacks, and obviously he lost a little bit of burst. So Egbuka, last year he got off to a great start his rookie season, then slowed down. But right now with no Mike Evans and the number one guy in this offense, I think he has a good season. Lab McConkey I took in the fourth. I like Lab McConkey in the fourth round. And a lot of these guys, Tet McMillan, Lab McConkey, Garrett Wilson, Egbuka, they were all in the same range for me at wide receiver to take. So Lab this season, I think, has a bounce back year. Sophomore year wasn't great. They had Mike McDaniel, the offensive coordinator, as his Charger team, which obviously he's one of the better offensive minds, believe it or not, in all the NFL. At McConkey, I think, like I said, with McDaniel there, he could have a bounce back season, and he's a good route runner, good possession receiver. Then fifth round, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, to get him fifth, sixth round, where he was a second, third rounder in some drafts last season. I think this Eagle offense, they could be better. They're going to run the ball more. You know, with the tush push, he's going to get you a lot of points just on rushing yards, and obviously those touchdowns is Jalen Hurts. So to have the Eagle pretty much Hurts and Saquon Barkley, I expect a decent year if this was my team going in. And Jalen Hurts, I know real life, a lot of people, they don't like his accuracy. They don't like he throws the football. But in terms of fantasy football, and this is what it's about, he put points on the board. Then DJ Moore in the sixth round. We'll see if DJ Moore can get things back on track, and obviously playing with the best quarterback he's had in his career now with the Buffalo Bills after they acquired him from the Chicago Bears in the offseason. And DJ Moore, you could line him up a lot of spots, obviously, on the field. He's a guy that does end arounds. He even took some running back carries as well on and off over the last couple seasons. So I think in Buffalo, he's going to be the number one receiver, is DJ Moore, with Khalil Shakir and Kincaid at the tight end position, and can have a decent year. Then George Kittle I took in the seventh round. Maybe a little bit early on George Kittle, but it looks like he's going to be ready for week one, is George Kittle. And we know he tore the Achilles last season. So Kittle, when healthy, one of the best tight ends in the league. But it is a big gift for him playing a complete season. Every year it seems like he's out with at least a multiple week injury or out for the season type injury. So if Kittle could finally stay healthy, he could give, obviously, a little run to Bowers and Trey McBride as a top three tight end in fantasy football. Then eighth round, Rico Dotto. I've been taking Dotto a lot, and I think he's got an opportunity to be the man over there in Pittsburgh. I think going into the year, Jalen Warren will be the starting running back for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. Like I said, to get Dotto as my third back, I don't think it's horrible, especially starting off with Ashton Ginty and Saquon Barkley in my backfield. So Rico Dotto can make plays out of the backfield, run over a defense 2 years in a row, some good years for him, 1,000 yards going back to 24 with the Cowboys. Last season he had some monster games, him and Chuba Hubbard splitting over there in Carolina, and now in Pittsburgh he's got an opportunity where I don't think Jalen Warren is much of a better back than Dotto. Then 10th, 9th round back to a receiver, Jacoby Myers last season. When the Jaguars acquired him at the NFL trade deadline, Myers, he showed out and he put up some good games, and he has a good rapport with Trevor Lawrence and got a nice contract extension as well from Jacksonville. So Myers, he just wanted out of Vegas, and we've seen it throughout history. Guys leave Vegas and then all of a sudden they go to another team. They got that fire back under them, and that's exactly the case with Myers, I think, last season. Then 10th round, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, get his starting running back. He's a backup here in the 10th round, not bad. He'll be my fourth running back going into the season. It'll be a 50-50 split where Rachaad White will be receiving down back and third down back, where we know he's one of the better pass-catching backs in the league, is White, where Krosky-Merritt more of a physical back in between the tackles and goal line guy. Then 11th round, Woody Marks. Woody Marks, he's still going to get opportunities, in my opinion, for this Houston Texan team. I know they traded for David Montgomery in the offseason from the Lions, but Woody Marks, a lot of work he got in his rookie season where Mixon was out for the year. Nick Chubb didn't play well last season. So Woody Marks, he could be a third down guy and also as well get some series where he gets carries. Then the 12th round, I went Deebo Samuel. Deebo signed him last week, was his 49er team. He's going to step right into one of those roles where Ricky Pearsall out for the season, Juwan Jennings gone to Minnesota in free agency. And like I said, he was only gone from the team for 1 year, so he knows the terminology. He knows the playbook. He's got, obviously, the rapport with Brock Purdy. So Deebo in the 12th round, where he'll have some pop games here and there, I think is decent value. Then 13th round, Adonai Mitchell of the New York Jets. Mitchell last season finished off the year with the New York Jets. He was in the Sauce Gardner trade at the deadline with the Indianapolis Colts, and now he had an opportunity with the New York Jets, and he'll be behind, obviously, Garrett Wilson as a number 2 wide receiver unless Cooper Jr. steps up into that number 2 role. And then to finish the draft, I went Texans D, one of the better defenses in the league, getting to the quarterback, keeping the team's points pretty low. And to get him in the 14th round, if you did that in a real draft, that's actually a defense you might want to keep the whole year. And then Chris Boswell in the 15th round. So the final roster, the 12th pick, Jalen Hurts, Emeka Buka-Lamekaki, Jinty and Barkley, 2 stud running backs to get back-to-back 12th and 13th overall. Then I got George Kittle, DJ Moore, Chris Boswell, Texans D to round out the starting lineup. And then the bench, Rico Dotto, Jacoby Myers, Krosky Merritt, Woody Marks, Deebo Samuel, Adonai Mitchell. So to be honest, this wide receiving core, I thought could have been better. It depends on DJ Moore if he could go out there and have a good season with the Bills. Because I went into the year with these receivers, and then DJ Moore had that breakout year that really helped a lot. And then on the bench, I think the depth's all right. Rico Dotto, Krosky Merritt, and Woody Marks to back up Jinty and Barkley's more than enough with this, obviously, hero RB strategy, taking 2 backs in the first 2 rounds, where the strategy is really for the backs in the first 2-3 rounds. But like I said, the way the draft felt, Jinty and Barkley's good value. And at receiver, the depth's pretty decent. Jacoby Myers, he's going to have a good role over there in Jacksonville. Deebo Samuel, he'll have a good role in San Francisco. And Adonai Mitchell, we'll see if he gets opportunity once again with the New York Jets. So that was the 12th pick overall. Double RB Hero Draft Breakdown entering the 2026 season.